Good morning, college algebra. Should be Friday. Should be watching a video. I'm here recording this at, I don't know, 7:15 on Wednesday morning. You guys are trying to get ready for your test and stuff like that. So I just need to pause the video there. I need to send a remind message to my second hour for food drive so we can beat all the rest of you. I hopefully will, by now it's Friday morning. I should be having your test graded and hopefully get them in a grade book soon. You'll for sure get them on Monday. Today you want to look at dividing polynomials. So yesterday you graphed polynomials, and if you're confused about some of that, don't worry, we'll pick up the pieces on Monday. But dividing polynomials is a very important step to getting where we need to be. This unit is on polynomials. If we divide polynomials, we take the divisor, which is x plus 2, and we divide it into 3x plus 6. We ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get 3x? So what do we multiply x by to get 3x? And the answer is 3. And because 3 is a constant, it sits over the 6. I then multiply the 3 back through and I get 3x plus 6. I subtract and I get 0. So the answer is 3 with no remainder. Next one's slightly different. We have x minus 2 divides into x cubed plus 0x squared. You must have a 0 for the placeholder. Minus 6x plus 4. So, again, what do we multiply x by to get x cubed? We multiply by x squared. So it goes over the x squared term. Multiply that back through and you get x cubed minus 2x squared, and we subtract. Sometimes your subtraction falls apart. Don't worry about it. Stay calm. X cubed minus x cubed is 0, but 0x squared minus negative 2x squared is positive 2x squared. Bring down the minus 6x because we have a binomial in x minus 2, and now we have a binomial in 2x squared minus 6x. We ask ourselves again, what do you multiply x by to get 2x squared? And the answer is 2x. Multiply that back through, we get 2x squared minus 4x, and we subtract. Negative 6x minus negative 4x would be a negative 2x, drop the 4. What do you multiply x by to get negative 2x? We multiply by negative 2. Multiply negative 2 through, we get negative 2x plus 4, subtract, and we get 0. So your answer is x squared plus 2x minus 2. Now, just to be clear in this problem, you don't have any remainder. And one good way to be able to determine if there's a remainder is to use the remainder theorem. The remainder theorem, we'll just put RT, really says that if P of X is divided by x minus a, the remainder is P of a. So what does that mean? That means you take, I'll wait a second for you to write that down. When I record, sometimes I'm faster than you are. If you look at the x minus 2 binomial here, the solution to that is 2. And if we simply take that solution and dump it back in, we would get 8 minus 12 plus 4, which is 0. That tells us that we have a remainder of 0. So you never need to, anytime you take a test on this, you can always know ahead of time when you're dividing if you got the right answer by simply checking your remainder. Not necessarily the right answer, but I should be able to tell you if you're close. We're going to skip on letter C, and we're going to go to D. X minus 1. Ahead of time, I'm going to check to see what the remainder is. And so I take 1 and I dump it in, and I get 1 minus 4 plus 2. And so it looks like that's negative 1. So I should have a remainder of negative 1. So that can tell me if I'm on the right track. So please use that. Excellent mathematicians will always find ways to check their work. Be excellent. We got x to the fourth plus 0x cubed minus 4x squared plus 0x plus 2. So you can see we have two placeholders there. This should be review. I know you guys learned a great deal this last year, but hopefully a good refresher. What do you multiply x by to get x to the fourth? We multiply by x cubed. Run that back through, and we get x to the fourth minus x cubed. Subtract. 0x cubed minus 1x cubed minus negative 1x cubed is positive 1x cubed minus 4x squared. Again, what do we multiply x by to get x cubed? We multiply by x squared. Run that x squared through, and you get x cubed minus x squared, and we subtract. X cubed minus x cubed is 0, and negative 4x squared minus negative 1x squared is negative 3x squared, and we drop the 0x down. What do we multiply x by to get negative 3x squared? We multiply by negative 3x. I run the negative 3x through, I get negative 3x squared plus 3x. Subtract, and we have negative 3x. Drop down the 2. And our final one, what do you multiply x by to get negative 3x? Multiply by negative 3. Run that back through negative 3x plus 3. We subtract, and we get negative 1. So I know that my remainder is correct. How do I write my final answer? I write it as x cubed plus x squared minus 3x minus 3. And then you write it as plus the remainder, which is negative 1, over the divisor, which is x minus 1. So that's how we write that. If you're wondering why we write that, just consider we'll go 7 divided by 3. You would write that as 2 and 1/3. So, or 2 plus 1 over 3. So the 1 is the remainder, the 3 is the divisor. 2 is what we refer to as the quotient. So, if you write that, that's why we come out with this guy right here. Now, obviously, you have the negative 1, so you write as x cubed plus x squared minus 3x minus 3 minus 1 over x minus 1. So there is value to that in dividing polynomials as we move forward. So you need to be able to know how to do long division. That's part of your assignment today. But you all know that there's an easier way to do this in life. It's synthetic division. I don't know how it's been set up for you in the past, but I will set up for you in this way. We take whatever the solution is, which is in this case 1, and we put it in a little corner box. Then we take the coefficients of the polynomial, making sure that we don't have any placeholders. 1, negative 4, 2, and 1. Draw our line underneath, and then I put a half box there for a remainder. Let you write that down so you can see exactly what you have. And here's how we start. We always start by taking the first coefficient and dropping it down. That's a 1. Then we multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. And then we add. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Then we multiply. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And we add. We get negative 1. Multiply. Negative 1. Add 0. So that thing in the box is always my remainder. The next one's my constant. Next one's my coefficient for x. The next one's my coefficient for x squared. So we have 1x squared minus 3x minus 1. That is my result as I divide two polynomials. Piece of cake upside down. Hopefully that's review for you. We'll do 3 more here. Next one. I have negative 2 as my solution for the binomial. My coefficients are 4, 8. Looks like I don't have a 0x squared, so I put a 0. I don't have an x squared, so I put a 0. I drop 4, negative 7, put my line, and the last little box for the remainder. I always start by dropping down my very first term. Then I multiply. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. I add and get 0. Multiply. 0. Add. 0. Multiply. 0. Add. 4. Multiply. Negative 8. Add. Negative 15. So my remainder is negative 15. My constant is 4. 0 is my x coefficient, 0 is my x squared, and 4 is my x cubed. So this is 4x cubed plus 4 minus 15 over x plus 2. We're going to skip letter C. You can see it's 1/4. People get frustrated with the fractions. We don't need to deal with it right now. We can do it on Monday if we need to. Let's just try to keep things straightforward for today. Letter D, we will do. I see that -5 is my solution there. I drop the -5 box. It's written backwards. I need to write it forward. So -1 for the x cubed, +1 for the x squared, 0 for the x term, 6 for the constant. Drop my remainder box, and away I go. Start by dropping my -1 and multiply 5. Well, add 6. Multiply -30. Add -30. Multiply 150. Add 156. Again, this is my constant, my x squared. So my result is -x squared plus 6x minus 30 plus 156 divided by x plus 5. That is the result when you divide the two polynomials. Again, right now we're just taking, when we say dividing polynomials, folks, just realize all we're doing is we're just taking, like in this case, this is a 4-term cubic, and we're dividing by a binomial. We're just dividing by binomials. We could divide by trinomials. We could divide by, a 4-term by a 4-term. There's all sorts of options that exist there. So, so we're trying to keep it basic and just use it for what we really need to use. But the study of dividing polynomials can go extensive. On Monday, we investigate the rational roots theorem, which I think is the coolest part of algebra. That and the fundamental theorem of algebra, which is what we're getting into. Super exciting stuff. The basis for this, you need to be able to divide polynomials, which is your assignment today, and you should be able to know how to graph polynomials, which is what we looked at earlier. So polynomials and their graphs, we checked that out. Dividing polynomials, that's what you're doing today. And then on Monday, zeros of polynomials, which would be the rational roots theorem. And then we look at some complex numbers, the fundamental theorem of algebra, which is super awesome, and the rational functions. So, yeah. So I missed you guys. I'm in Wisconsin. Suppose the only thing we're supposed to be in Wisconsin would be like maybe being in Iowa, but go Ghosts, roll the boat, Sky your mom.